Here's a must-watch video for all real Xbox fans. Let's discuss. What's up guys, and welcome back to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. I spend most of my time here on the channel covering the latest Xbox news and sharing it with you to make sure that you are Xbox ready. That's how the channel started, and while I've branched out into other things like game reviews, unboxings, accessory reviews, things like that, I thought what better way to end the year on a channel dedicated to mostly Xbox news than to do an ultimate 2023 Xbox recap. So take a walk down memory lane with me. Let's relive some of Xbox's best moments, their wackest moments, and let's talk what we'd like to see in 2024. January of 2023 was an interesting month for Xbox. They had just come off of 2022 where they didn't really release any huge first-party games. They were in all this mess with Activision Blizzard and the FTC filing a restraining order against them trying to close that acquisition. It was mostly bad news for Xbox in 2022 with a few bright spots. So all eyes were on them in January, like how are they going to turn this around? Is it going to be a repeat of 2022? What's going on? Well, they started off the month with an announcement that would make waves throughout the gaming industry, sort of. They announced that Xbox consoles were going to be the first carbon-aware consoles in the world. This is a feature that allows your Xbox to optimize updates and downloads to run at a time when the console can use the most renewable energy. It apparently does this by accessing regional carbon intensity data through the internet. This carbon-aware update that would roll out a couple of months later would also make the default power mode on your Xbox console shutdown mode and not instant on. This also added an active mode to your Xbox, which would allow it to start up faster when you're actively using it throughout the day. Like, oh, I only use my Xbox from like 5 to 9 p.m. at night. Outside of that, I don't really need it to start up super fast. Certain government officials had a complete meltdown over this. They were like, what? Xbox is forcing this freaking like global warming green energy BS down our throats. What is coming to the world? I thought Xbox was an American company with American values. This is crap. Overall, I didn't really mind it because I thought some of the changes were pretty cool, and they gave us the option to switch back to all of our old settings if we really wanted to. A defining moment for Xbox would also occur in the month of January. On the 25th, they had something called Developer Direct. This was a smaller showcase meant to show off games that were coming out in 2023, like Redfall, like Minecraft Legends, like Hi-Fi Rush, like Elder Scrolls Online, like Motorsport. And yes, there are a couple of games in that list that went on to have so-so receptions, that went on to be universally hated, like Redfall. But despite that, I really liked the format of the show. They set expectations very clearly. They were like, these are the games that we're going to talk about, and we even got a bonus surprise, one of the best games on Xbox consoles this year, the shadow drop of Hi-Fi Rush. I wish that they did this show more often. I wish there was another Developer Direct, like sometime in the fall. I'm really hoping that they bring it back at the beginning of 2024, especially because there's a lot of first-party Xbox titles coming out that year. And also, whoever had the idea to shadow drop Hi-Fi Rush during this show, being like, hey, you think this game looks cool? Go and play it on Game Pass right now, on Steam right now, buy it on your Xbox right now. That was friggin' genius because the game was awesome. It's one of my favorites this year. And it didn't give people time to be like, wait a minute, Tango Gameworks making a rhythm comic book game? That's stupid. That's not the game that they usually work on. They usually work on stuff like The Evil Within and like scary games like that. They were able to bypass all of that criticism, all of that negativity, and just be like, here you go, here's the game. It's awesome. But of course, even though Xbox set the expectations very clear, they were like, these are the games that are going to be shown off. People were like, where's Starfield? What's going on? Why aren't they showing Starfield? And a lot of people were also mad because we didn't have a firm release date for Forza Motorsport. So people were like, is it coming out in 2023? Is it getting delayed? What's going on? People always got to nitpick, man. People always got to find something to hate on or complain about. But besides all that, I thought this was a really strong way for Xbox to start off 2023. It got the fans hyped. They released Hi-Fi Rush, which ended up getting 5 nominations at the Game Awards. They showed off Forza Motorsport, which ended up winning Best Racing Game this year at the Game Awards. Overall, I'd say it was a success. It was a pretty strong month for Game Pass as well. A couple of Persona games, P3 Portable, P4 Golden, Monster Hunter Rise, GoldenEye 007. Age of Empires finally made its way to Xbox consoles with the release of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. It was pretty whack that there's no online multiplayer for 007, the Xbox version. And it was also pretty whack that it only supported 30 FPS. You would think that at least 60, man, at least 60 for an old-ass game running on the world's most powerful console, at least. Xbox had a pretty rough start to February because Microsoft laid off a bunch of Xbox employees working on the HoloLens and Surface projects that they had. So that was kind of a bummer. That was pretty whack. I'll organize that into the whack category for this year. It was also in this month that Xbox announced its partnership with Nvidia, promising to bring their PC games to their competing cloud gaming service, GeForce Now. This was the first of many moves, contracts, partnerships that Xbox would execute in order to seem just a little bit more chill to regulators as they were trying to close their Activision Blizzard acquisition. I was super excited for this month because this is when they started to expand the preview of the Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family plan. They started off in like Ireland and I think Colombia, and then they expanded it to 6 more countries. I was like, oh, what does this mean? They're testing it out in more places. Does it mean it's going to come and roll out worldwide soon after that? I guess you'll have to keep watching to find out. February is also when this Larian Studios Baldur's Gate 3 Xbox drama all began. They came out, they were like, hey guys, we're releasing our game on Steam in August, and then shortly after that on PlayStation 5, no mention of the Xbox version. And so people were like, oh, what, did PlayStation pay for another money hat deal, another third-party timed exclusivity deal? And then Larian Studios came out and they were like, no, that's not the case. We couldn't get the split-screen version of our game working on the Series S. And because Microsoft has this policy saying that all the features that are on the Series X have to be on the S, we can't ship that game. We gotta delay it. That specificity, that call out from Larian Studios would be the start of a very, very long back and forth in the Xbox community over whether or not the Series S was trash and should be abandoned. Game Pass highlights for this month include Atomic Heart, Mountain Blade Bannerlord, and City Skyline Remastered. Now, I was really excited for Atomic Heart. The gameplay footage looked really cool. It looked like a fresh, original concept. But then when I played it, I was like, man, this is alright. I was super disappointed in Mountain Blade Bannerlord. I feel like a lot of elements in Bannerlord were actually a step back from their predecessor in Warband, especially a lot of the RP stuff. March 2023 was the start of some very juicy drama going on with the Activision Blizzard deal. A judge sided with Xbox in its request to reveal how much Sony pays studios to keep their games off of the Xbox platform and on Game Pass. On a side note, this was also the month that me and Jimmy got to go to the Season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian. Xbox had a partnership going on with this Grogu controller and the Special Edition Mandalorian consoles, and so we got invited to go. It was awesome. Shortly after that, me and Jimmy also got to preview Redfall. Yes, Redfall, the game that must not be named. We'll get into my thoughts about Redfall a couple of months down the line in this video, but overall it was a super fun event. It was my first time ever being invited to a gameplay preview, so I felt super cool. Yeah, I mean, that team was super nice and they treated me very well. I just hope the game turned out to be better. Shortly after that, me and Jimmy got to preview Minecraft Legends. Overall, another fun event down at the Microsoft Lounge. I swear this game was really fun, but we were in a setup like we were all in the same room, kind of like old school LAN party, yelling and screaming at each other. It was a lot more fun when I played the preview than when it ultimately launched a month or two later. In March, Phil Spencer again mentioned the Xbox mobile store, and at this point, they didn't even own the Candy Crush makers, King. Also this month, 11 members of Congress argued that Sony was engaging in anti-competitive practices and trying to corner the high-end console gaming market in Japan. They alleged that Sony violated the US-Japan digital agreement, basically saying that Sony and PlayStation, they can operate freely here in the US, they could do whatever they want, they can grow however much they want, buy whoever they want, but Xbox can't do the same in Japan. The Diablo 4 beta was also in March. That was freaking awesome, man. That was like, ooh, it was so many possibilities, and it was so different from the Diablo 3 that we had been so used to over the past 10, 12 years. We got a couple of good titles on Game Pass this month as well. well, Wolong Fallen Dynasty came, and I don't care what anyone says, I had a really fun time with this game. Yes, it was hard. Yes, the first boss was a pain in the ass, but once I got through, I felt like literally like an anime character. Like I was in Jujutsu Kaisen, parrying crazy attacks and freaking killing gods and other crazy, other immortal beings. Guilty Gear Strive also came to Game Pass this month. This is a cool fighting game, but it's also super frustrating. High learning curve, man, more so than a lot of other fighting games. Also, the console version of Valheim finally made its way to Game Pass, which, that's an awesome game. I wish I had more people to play it with. It's an awesome, procedurally generated survival frickin' Viking game, and it was a really awesome get for Game Pass. Xbox in April. Not a lot happened in April, honestly. They released that Earth Day controller. That was pretty cool. The Elite Series controllers were finally added to Design Lab, allowing you to customize your own Elite Series 2 controller, make it whatever color you want. They started testing some things I didn't really care about, like the Friends and Community tab. They've revamped the search bar a little bit, I don't know. Ubisoft Plus came to Xbox consoles. No, not to Game Pass, like a lot of people were wanting. It's a separate subscription service that you can have on your Xbox console that functions much like Game Pass, but it's only for Ubisoft games. But you know what also happened this month? Ghostwire Tokyo finally made its way to Xbox consoles after a year of being tied up in that exclusivity deal on PlayStation. I really like this game, man. I feel like not a lot of people did when it launched back in 2022. I really liked the setting. I really liked learning about Japanese folklore. That level when you're in a middle school was awesome, and that freaking like anatomy statue was following you around. I wasn't sure why people hated it so much, and then I realized that a lot of the things I liked about this game, especially some things about the combat, were only added in with the Spider's Thread update. It wasn't available with the game at launch. Like doing the rapid fire freaking like air gun, air pistol, spirit gun kind of situation, making a fire bomb with your hands, doing the water blades. That was all really cool and I enjoyed it. Outside of that, the Game Pass editions are kind of so-so in my opinion. Yeah, we got Ghostwire Tokyo, and then we also got Minecraft Legends, which we talked about earlier, but we also got Goat Simulator, baby!
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
The month of May, man, the month of May was a huge step back for Xbox. First of all, they said that they were listening to fan feedback over this new dashboard that they were working on, which was a lie. We'll get into that later. Phil Spencer also admitted that they had lost the console war. He further clarified that the Xbox One PS4 generation was the worst one to lose because that's when everyone built up their digital library, and no one wants to switch their digital library and all their games that they have over to a new console when they already have all of it built up on another platform. And then Redfall releases. Hee Honestly, what can be said about this game that hasn't already been said? It was a disastrous launch. Everyone was hating on it pretty much immediately. And when you're on that hate wagon, when that train kind of starts to roll, it's hard to get off of. Honestly, my firm belief is that if this game launched with no technical issues, if it launched with a performance mode, this game could have been like a 6, 6.5. Not the best, nothing groundbreaking, but not the universally hated title that it ultimately is remembered as. Unfortunately, this release would cast a shadow over Xbox for months to come. There were a lot of questions surrounding Xbox following this release because it was the first Bethesda published game that was Xbox exclusive. So a lot of people were rightfully worried. They were like, what happened, man? Are all the other Bethesda published games gonna suck from now on now that Xbox owns it? In other news, in the month of May, Xbox officially began its partnership with NVIDIA GeForce Now. They brought first-party games like Gears 5, Pentiment, Grounded, and Deathloop and made them available on GeForce Now. They also released this very confusing flowchart on what to do if you're ever reported for violating the community guidelines. Game Pass actually had one of its strongest months for smaller indie titles in the month of May. They brought out Ravenlock, which visually was really, really cool. I like the setting, I like the art style, but the gameplay, it left much to be desired for me. We also got Planet of Lana on Game Pass, which is, I loved the visuals in this game and the music. It was a short game, but it told an interesting, well-paced story that ultimately was very moving. And you could pet your little shadow cat. Come on, man. Cassette Beast was also added, and I really like this game, man. I've been talking about it for months at this point, and it has a really awesome soundtrack. June started off kind of rocky for Xbox. Basically, they were caught illegally collecting kids' data, and they had to pay the FTC $20 million. Xbox said it was a glitch in their system where usually it happens to where when people try to make an account and they quit halfway through, that data is deleted after a certain period of time. But apparently that wasn't happening to a bunch of kids' accounts and information. They ended up making a change where if you were a kid under the age of 13, you had to get express verification from a parental figure in order to complete the account creation process. The ROG Ally was released in June, which gave us the closest thing that we'll probably ever get to a handheld Xbox. If you don't know what the Ally is, it's pretty much a Steam Deck, but instead of running Steam OS, it runs Windows. This makes it to where you can have Game Pass, literally Game Pass, on the go with you. You don't have to stream the games. You can treat it like your Xbox console, use Game Pass to download titles, and then take them with you on the go. June was a pretty fun month for me personally, especially when it came to video game stuff, because I got to go to Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Game Showcase like in the same week. Summer Games Fest, I got to meet a lot of other creators. We got our first look at the Lies of P, and they dropped the demo after that. That was pretty cool. We got that Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay trailer. That was awesome. Nicolas Cage was there for some reason. And they also revealed the Porsche Special Edition Xbox, another really cool looking Xbox that I will never see in real life. And the Xbox Game Showcase, man, that was a good show. And it was awesome to see positivity in the air surrounding the Xbox name. Usually it's like, oh man, what did Xbox do this time? But after the showcase, it was like, dang, that was a really good show. We got our first look at some really highly anticipated first-party Xbox games that we haven't heard about in a while, like Fable. They announced the Black Series S with a full terabyte of storage. And on top of that, we got 45 minutes of Starfield gameplay, which was huge at the time because up until then, we hadn't really seen that much of the game. Me and my buddy Rich also got to go hands-on with 33 Immortals, which was pretty fun, but people are definitely going to be mad that you have to be online in order to play that game. And we got a deep dive into Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is like a social sim, but also a dungeon diving game. That's going to be coming out in 2024. Overall, very strong show. It was a really good mix of announcement. They had a good balance, and I can't wait to see what they do in 2024. It was also confirmed in June that Indiana Jones was going to be an Xbox PC exclusive. And Matt Booty had a kind of sad announcement. He said that no internal Xbox teams were working on anything related to the Xbox One. They're pretty much done supporting the Xbox One. Minus like, okay, you'll still be able to play like Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, Sea of Thieves, games like that. But no new Xbox games are going to be released on the Xbox One. It was also in June that they announced that they were going to be raising the prices of Xbox consoles and Game Pass, which at the time I was like, that's kind of whack, man. I don't know why y'all are doing this, because the whole reason they said they were doing this was, oh, because we're building better experiences. We're making bigger and better games. And the last big game that they had released was Redfall, so it wasn't really adding up. It was clear that they were banking on things like Starfield and Motorsport later in the year to justify that price increase. In July, after 20 years, Major Nelson left Xbox. Thank you for your service. Testing for the Xbox Game Pass family plan also ended in July, and what happened? What happened to this, man? Like, I really thought that they were going to be rolling it out by the end of 2023, but after they ended testing in July, we haven't heard anything about it. I'm like, this was actually a good idea. And you're like, nah, man, we're good. We don't actually want to roll out a family plan, no matter how awesome it sounds. Like, this is actually getting me riled up. It's actually making me mad because I was really excited for this. Phil Spencer recently did an interview with Windows Central where he was like, we got a roadmap for the family plan, but he didn't really say much else about it. So yeah, like he acknowledged the existence of it, but like, where is it, man? What happened? Microsoft and Sony also signed an agreement to keep Call of Duty titles on PlayStation for at least the next 10 years. This is the month they also announced Xbox Game Pass Core as well, which is what ended up replacing Xbox Live Gold. It's pretty much the same thing as Xbox Live Gold, except without games with gold. So now instead of getting free games every month, you just get like a standard 25 free games, kind of like Game Pass Lite. They also announced voice reporting for anyone who is violating the community guidelines. Basically, if you hear someone talking like something crazy, just saying crazy stuff, you can record them, and when you make your report to Xbox support, you can use that voice recording clip as evidence. Man, people were pissed when I was talking about this thing. They were like, what? Xbox is violating my First Amendment rights? This is crap. Xbox also rolled out the new dashboard, and again, like, what happened, man? I made so many videos about what I would like the dashboard to look like. And basically, my whole thing was less is more. Less is more. Take out the freaking like huge tiles that are just ads at the bottom and just move everything down so we can see our backgrounds. And they were like, actually, let's keep those in and let's put a bunch of stuff as you scroll down, like a bunch of like movies, a bunch of like game ads, a bunch of stuff. And you know what? Let's take out the ability to rearrange your groups, your pinned groups on the home screen. They only like kind of tweaked the dashboard. There was nothing crazy. They the shortcuts on the top of the screen are cool. Those are nice, but it's like, damn, the more that you scroll through this dashboard, the worse that it gets. They came out with a pizza set and controller. That was pretty cool for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was pretty cool, right? They also started selling Elite Series 2 repair kits. So if you were out of warranty and you can no longer send it in to be repaired by Xbox themselves, and they came out with all these YouTube videos to help you use those repair kits. They announced that Final Fantasy 15, or not 15, what's the MMO? The like new Final Fantasy MMO, not the old one, they announced was finally coming to Xbox consoles, and Phil Spencer was like, yes, this signals a new era when it comes to Xbox and Square Enix. I don't know what that means because there's still very high profile Square games that are still not on Xbox consoles. But Phil seemed pretty excited about it at the time. I was like, I'm happy for you, dude. Game Pass highlights for this month included the return of GTA 5, and Exoprimal also came to Game Pass as well, which was another game that I was excited for, but then I played like maybe a couple of hours of it and I was like, I'm good. Like, it has a lot of things I'm interested in. Dinosaurs, robots, guns, PvP gameplay, but it just wasn't gelling for me. Moving on to the month of August, Xbox had a huge presence at Gamescom. They had playable demos of Towerborn and Stalker 2. They had theatrical presentations of Starfield and Motorsport. People seemed generally hyped. They also introduced the Xbox Enforcement System. And basically, under this new system, you get a strike for any time you act up online. You can get up to 8 strikes, and then after 8, I don't know, they banish you to the Shadow Realm, I guess. But each strike up until that 8th one results in a temporary suspension from using Xbox Live or any of their communication tools. After this, a bunch of people started messaging me being like, Ray, this is stupid. Xbox just banned me for saying this, and including their messages, man. That was a really fun time. August is when they also announced the console wraps for the Series X. They were like, we're going to have a Starfield one. We're going to have 2 camo ones. I'll never understand why they sent this out so early to creators, but then dragged their feet on releasing it to actual customers. They didn't end up releasing these console wraps until November. November, dude. And especially with the Starfield one, I was like, why did you wait until after the release of the game, a couple of months after the game release, to put this console wrap out? It's ridiculous. It should have come out with all of the other accessories like the Starfield controller, the headset, the freaking collector's edition watch. They also announced in August that they were closing the Xbox 360 store in July 2024. This was a pretty cool month for Game Pass as well. Age of Empires 4 came to Xbox consoles, and I'm a big Age of Empires guy. I like that game. I know it's probably not for everyone, but it's dope to see one of Microsoft's most iconic franchises finally being playable on Xbox. Sea of Stars was added this month as well, and at the time I was like, man, Sea of Stars, I don't know about that game. I'm going to be playing Starfield in a couple of weeks anyway. Psh, I don't need Sea of Stars. But I started playing that game recently, and I'm like, ooh, sorry. I was not familiar with your game, man. I'm sorry. This is a really awesome game. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out as well on Game Pass, and that's pretty fun. Not the best, but still pretty fun. In September, man oh man, September was the month. Starfield finally launched. After years of hearing about it, we finally got our hands on one of Bethesda's most highly anticipated projects. There was so much hype surrounding this game. I got the review code a full 2 weeks before the game launched, which was pretty cool, but I was tied up in a lot of wedding stuff for my sister. I was in Dallas, I was in Mexico, so I didn't have as much time to play it. Honesty time. Honesty. Pure honesty. I had an up and down time with the game. There were some things in the game I was like, this is really fun. This is really cool. And then there were other things I was like, I would rather be doing anything else. There are a lot of people that think this game is good. There are a lot of people that think this game is bad. And there are a lot of people who think it's kind of in the middle. Reception to this game was kind of mixed, but it did provide Xbox with a much needed boost in console sales, and Game Pass signups, and overall interest in the Xbox brand. Starfield's release would pretty much define Xbox's year. Also in the month of September, they released officially the Black Series S. We got a cool update involving variable refresh rate in the month of September as well, basically allowing us to turn it off whenever we wanted to. We can toggle it to gaming only, or have it on all the time, or just off completely. We also got an update that changed the capture policy system. This update made it so basically any capture or game clip that you have on the Xbox Live network will be deleted after 90 days. But they also gave us more options to back up those captures as well. You can now automatically have your clip saved to Microsoft OneDrive or an external drive. In a later update, we would officially get Discord on our Xbox consoles, the ability to join Discord voice chat through Xbox. It was a really cool quality of life feature that I can't imagine not having. And the functionality of it, I'm surprised that it works so well. It's turned out to be a pretty good communication alternative too for a lot of people who find themselves running afoul of the Xbox community guidelines. In the month of September, Xbox also dropped their MasterCard, the Xbox credit card. I'm still so confused by this. It just seems like, why? There are so many other credit cards that do the same thing, but you can use the points on anything, not just Xbox games. Also in September, we got a massive Xbox leak, which was crazy at the time. Crazy. We were seeing crazy stuff like, oh, what? Xbox was planning to buy Nintendo? Oh, what? We're getting a digital Series X? Oh, what? We're getting a new Xbox controller? Oh, what? There are all these unannounced Bethesda games that are coming out soon? It was like these leaks came out of nowhere. Unfortunately, it seems, well, at least with a lot of the hardware stuff, that Xbox has kind of shifted their plans. This was a pretty strong month for Game Pass as well. Starfield, duh, that's an obvious one. Lies of P also came to Game Pass this month. And Party Animals. Now, Party Animals, obviously completely different from a game like Starfield or Lies of P, but that game is just fun, man. It's just dumb, mindless fun. I've had a lot of laughs with my friends playing that game. The month of October, Redfall finally gets a performance mode. Also, various Xbox leaders get promotions. Matt Booty gets promoted to President of Gaming Content and Services, and Sarah Bond now oversees hardware and software platforms. My buddy Jimmy also got married in the month of October. And oh yeah, by the way, Xbox finally concluded. They finally closed their bid to buy Activision Blizzard after a year and 10 months of covering it, of all of these ups and downs, of these lawsuits being slung back and forth. They finally closed the deal, putting them in control of games like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, Candy Crush, and many, many more. We haven't really seen any tangible effects from this deal, but in 2024, we can at least expect some Activision Blizzard games to come to Game Pass. Halo Season 5 also started in October, and damn it, this is the most fun I've had in Halo in quite a long time. They introduced AI campaign assets that you can use in Forge mode, and they had a new playlist that was dedicated to just revamped, remastered Halo 3 maps, Halo 3 Refueled, and it's been awesome to get to experience those maps again, but in an updated engine. We also got an update that would allow you to map keyboard bindings to an Xbox Adaptive Controller or an Elite Series controller. I think this is a really exciting update that has a lot of potential, especially now that Xbox has control over a lot of iconic PC gaming franchises like World of Warcraft, all the Blizzard stuff. In the month of November, I went to BlizzCon. After 4 years of having no BlizzCon, they made the return to Anaheim. And overall, I thought they had a pretty good showing. They teased the expansion for Diablo 4 that's coming next year, Vessel of Hatred. They teased a lot of expansions coming to World of Warcraft. And they introduced a new character for Overwatch, or they announced him. Hopefully I'll get to go again next year. People also got really mad at these full-fledged Xbox ad pop-ups that happen when you boot up your console. They did it with Starfield, they did it with Motorsport, but it looked like the final straw was when they did it with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. People don't want to see more ads, man. They don't want to see that. I understand they're a necessary evil at this point, but come on. In November, Xbox announced a partnership that has a lot of people concerned. They're teaming up with this firm called In-World AI, specifically to give developers tools to make NPCs using AI, to generate dialogue and quests using AI. Basically, a lot of people are like, this is the end of gaming as we know it. People are very skeptical of AI, and rightfully so. I'm thinking, I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait to see how it plays out. I think to a certain degree, AI could be cool, but I don't know. It's a slippery slope. Remnant from the Ashes and Remnant 2 was added to Game Pass in November. And guys, I never really knew anything about these games. I didn't really pay attention to them. I didn't care when they showed off Remnant 2 at Summer Games Fest. But man, I regret that. Because these games are dope. And last but not least, for the month of December, Xbox had a very strong showing at the Game Awards. We got our first looks at OD, the game that Xbox is working on with Hideo Kojima and Jordan Peele. We also got the Blade announcement. Arcane Leon is working on a Blade game. We didn't get a mid-gen refresh, but we got another look at Hellblade 2, which looks awesome, and Baldur's Gate 3 finally made its way to Xbox consoles. Overall, Xbox had a much improved showing at the Game Awards, especially when compared to last year. Other than that, we're pretty much caught up. Other things that happened this month, an Xbox exec teased, he talked about again an ad-supported tier for Game Pass, which, I don't know, man. I was just saying, less ads, but apparently Xbox wants to add more ads into a Game Pass membership. Cloud gaming was finally introduced on MetaQuest, and Sony is simultaneously concerned with Xbox post-Activision Blizzard acquisition because they think that the Game Pass subscription model is not sustainable and that they can't compete with it. Their whole strategy is making these single-player focused games, which aren't really the kind of games that do well on a subscription service, so they're like, oh, we're a little bit worried we won't be able to keep up with that if trends go that way. But at the same time, PlayStation 5s are outselling Xbox consoles by a staggering 3-to-1 ratio. But we don't gotta talk about that. I talked about it a couple of videos ago, okay? And y'all, that is your Xbox 2023 Ultimate recap. Some really cool stuff and some really whack stuff. But overall, I thought it was a pretty strong year from Xbox. I got a lot of value out of my Xbox Game Pass subscription. There were some very strong, interesting additions to the service in 2023, especially when compared to 2022. Hopefully, Xbox can continue to build on that momentum and deliver on all of these Xbox first-party titles that are supposed to come out in 2024. Games like Towerborn, Avowed, Stalker 2, maybe we'll get Hollow Knight in there, I don't know, maybe we'll get South of Midnight in there. The possibilities, once again, for Xbox are endless. Hopefully they don't screw it up. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for joining me for another video on Xbox Ready. It's been over 2 years since we launched the channel, and I am just super grateful and humbled when I see how much we've grown. I hope you enjoyed this ultimate recap, and we'll see you in 2024.